All right. So let me explain a government shutdown. All right. We've had lots of government shutdowns. Okay. So let me just explain a government shutdown. So it sounds worse than it is initially. Okay. Initially. So a government shutdown is a scary phrase, but it's not that scary unless it goes on for a while. And that's why the markets haven't really people are like, why is the market not dumped yet? For my EU folks especially, because I know a lot of you guys are like, is this like France where we dissolve everything and we collapse? No, that's just a Monday for you guys. You're gonna see a lot of partisan politics, and this is why I try to make it as informational as possible, because everyone's gonna blame everybody else. This time it's either if you're on the right, you're going to say the Dems are forcing this to happen, and if you're on the left, it's Republicans are forcing this to happen. We had one last year when the opposite was happening. It's just a normal course of business now in the government, because the controlling party is going to want to push through everything they have, and they know that they've got to, it's basically a bullying tactic for whoever's the controlling party at the time, depending on how big the majority is. So what is a government shutdown? A government shutdown is basically when funding stops, right? So we're going to put that in quotations. So the government is funded. Yearly, they have these appropriation bills that keep the government running based on spending. And if they don't come to an agreement, then there's no money to run the government. So they have to shut down the government. And it's a scary phrase, because it's not actually like the entire government just lights go out and every government facility closes. That's not what a government shutdown is. As of midnight tonight, if the government shuts down, what that means is that starting tomorrow, non-essential workers will be furloughed. Okay, I'm just going to talk about historically. Since 1990, we've actually had 10 shutdowns where it actually went far enough that we saw furloughs, right? We had a shutdown back in November or October, whatever, the end of last year as well. So really, this is just a word where it can be used as leverage, right? Oh, if you don't agree to us, or, oh, if you don't do this, the government's going to shut down. And it's supposed to scare constituents so that they don't, they don't want to, it's a political thing. You might ask yourself, well, if they're non-essential, why are they working anyways? That's a question that comes up every shutdown. But non-essential workers will be furloughed. So basically, people who are not essential to the functioning of the government will go on a paid leave, is what usually happens. That's the first wave of it, okay? Usually, we don't get this far. But even if we do, it doesn't really affect anything, because it's not something that keeps the functioning of the government, okay? And it's not a huge economic thing. However, it can be, because non-essential workers in the government are people that work in national parks, regulatory agencies. Okay, these are a couple of them. So there is some effect, and the longer it goes, the more it has. These are mostly administrative people, though. Okay, now essential services, which are military, air traffic control, social security payments, stuff like that, they don't get furloughed. However, if we get past a week or two, they may be working without pay. They'll get the pay back, but they're not going to have immediate pay. That's the second step. First step is non-essential, furloughed, paid vacation. Second step is essential work, but delayed pay. That's the second level. Very rarely do we ever get that far. Okay, because nobody wants to go back and say that, the reason that the military, service members didn't get paid on time is because of they'll blame the other party. Democrats will say, well, it's because Republicans stronghold us, and the Republicans will say, well, it's because Democrats roadblocked us, just like we saw last year. Okay, contractors are also affected in the beginning. I mean, that's another one. The issue becomes is if this hits 30 days, which it doesn't. It almost never does. If it hits 30 days, that's when we actually start seeing problems, because this is when it affects local governments. One of the things I talk about, especially with my personal belief, is in Florida, they're trying to push getting rid of property tax and making a state income tax instead. And older people who don't have a job and own a home, and large corporations and businesses that have, big buildings and land and stuff, are applauding this because they're going to save a lot of money. However, what people don't understand is you now give up control of spending from your town and you give it to the state. And the state, no matter what state you're in and what fucking party is in charge, they always use political favoring when they dole out the money to everybody. States, especially states that don't have a property tax, you're going to start seeing local municipalities and towns and stuff actually start to be affected. After about 30 days, that's when you start seeing the potential for delays in public transportation and waste management and stuff. Interesting enough, fun fact, the 2018-2019 shutdown, which is when I got crushed on my AMD calls, the longest shutdown we have had was 2018-2019, and it lasted 35 days. That's the longest shutdown we have had over a budget appropriations bill disagreement, okay? And it was costing the economy about $11 billion, which is not even a fucking accounting rounding error. So when you ask me why isn't the market falling because of this, the longest shutdown we ever had was in 2018-2019, and it cost the economy $11 billion. Now, if the shutdown continues to go longer, that is when you have issues. But remember, I just want you guys to understand that shutdown does not mean lights go out, government stops working, anarchy in the streets. It just means that they haven't agreed to their yearly spending budget, and therefore they will delay payments on people. But the government prints money. It's not like the government's going to run out of money. This is a political jockeying tool. Whoever the controlling party is going to try to push as much of their, whatever they want into the funding bill. The minority party is going to obviously not be happy with it and say that's too much. We need concessions. They're going to disagree. They're going to go until somebody gives up a little bit or gives up something, and then they just do it. And then what they just do is they do a continuing resolution, and they just say, all right, we're not actually going to agree to anything. We're just going to, extend last year's budget and add more money to it. And that is why your government budget continues to increase every year, because they don't actually negotiate. It's just a political jockeying tool. It's a very scary phrase, and they'll say, oh my God, people are government workers aren't eating, or they're whatever. Now, here's what I'm going to say, though. I'm going to give you a but here. But it might be different this time, because old boy in the White House is changing the game. Remember how I said government workers are furloughed, but non-essential? He's saying he's just going to fire them. So this is one of those things where whether he does it or doesn't do it, it's one of those ones where it's like, it's kind of a threat to the Democrats, saying if you don't pass this, agree to what the Republicans want, they're just going to get fired. And then you actually it's like, instead of saying, oh, these people went on a paid vacation, it's like, it's a blackmail technique where they're like, hey, we're going to fire them. I mean, they probably want to fire them anyways, and they'll use this as an excuse, but it's a little bit different this time. This isn't going to affect the economy, okay? Because you guys are like, a lot of you guys misunderstand the difference between emotions when it comes to when I do. I don't do the emotional and the political side. I just talk about the economic part. From the economy and the market standpoint, this doesn't change anything. From, oh my God, this is setting a really fucked up precedence that the head of a government is threatening to fire employees over a spending bill if they're not agreed to from the opposing party. That's kind of a whole other conversation. But to my EU people who want to know what a government shutdown is, I think this is the best way to explain it without pushing any type of narrative. This is a government shutdown. It's not a shutdown like it's actually closing its doors. It's a political, jockeying move where this kind of thing happens in steps, but it doesn't last long. And the longest it went is 35 days, and it costs the economy, less than what we fucking, spend on funding some fucking guerrilla group in another country. But at the time, nobody thought it would go 35 days because it never before. I didn't say it can't go anything. Robert, you're doing that thing again where you're trying to create something that's not there. I did not give you a narrative that, oh, it's nothing and it's just going to be over. I'm telling you that it doesn't shut down, like close the doors and it's over. We have only had it 35 days. It could go longer, and if it does, I just said that municipalities, especially ones that rely on the revenue from the states, are going to be hurt more than the actual government. That's when people every day will be affected if we get that far. Why isn't gold climbing worth potential shutdown? Because nobody thinks that this shutdown is actually going to last 6 months. Like, remember, the market is not the economy. Okay, I've done many videos on this. And on top of that, investors in the market are pricing in 5, 10, 20 years down the line. This is not, gold is the same way. Gold is for the instability or whatever. If they do a continuing resolution, but they decide to add everything in there and raise the congressional budget by 10%, meaning they're going to print more money, then gold will go up. But right now, the idea is that it's going to come to some kind of continuing resolution or some kind of budget bill that will be agreed on after 7 days or 10 days. How can they predict what's happening in 10 years? Well, generally, you can look at data from the past, look at where we're at now, look at other economies and say, okay, based on our growth now, our population growth, our wages, our unemployment, our imports, exports, Trump being out of office at this time, this may happen, our economy is set to continue to grow. But if there's things that say our economy looks like it's going to slow down, which lowers the consumer spending and consumer confidence, and this market is driven on consumer, good little piggy Americans, buying up, then people will say, okay, well, maybe I'll take out now and wait to go back in when we see a growth on the upside again. That's kind of how it is, right? That's how the market's kind of predicted. Maybe not for you, because for me or you, we just buy the dips. Oh, fuck it. If the market drops next year by 25%, we'll just buy more, right? Because we're dollar cost averaging. We don't need this money later on. There's people out there that panicked in April. I'm selling everything, man. You're 27 years old. Why are you selling your stocks? Because Trump's going to destroy America and the economy, and the market's going to zero. What? Yeah, the Hawley Act of Tariff Act of 1930 absolutely destroyed. Right? This is 2025. The dude's doing some crazy off-the-wall, unhinged shit, and it's not going to be good for us in the short term, but this isn't irreversible. Yeah, but people are going to want to do business with America in the future. Are you fucking... What? Yeah, because they're going to remember that we did this. No one gives a shit what you did 5 years ago if they can make money off you. People care about money more than they care about fucking, this country had a shitty president one time who did some mean shit. Now we just don't want to do hundreds of billions of dollars in business with them to prove a point. That's not how that shit works. We bought that fucking dip, and all those people are still sitting on the sidelines saying, well, it's going to crash again. I'll get in then. What? Where else are people going to put their money right now? I wish I could go back to those streams on April 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th and all of the people that were, you're a fucking idiot. You don't know shit. Oh, you're just a fucking MAGA who believes anything you hear. I'm like, no, I'm telling you that this guy's doing some unhinged shit, but he hasn't done anything irreversible yet. Yeah, well, we'll see. And I'll never forget that one guy. Yeah, I'll buy back into SPY when it hits 240. Good luck, bro. But yeah, to my EU people, I hope that was a simplified breakdown of what a government shutdown actually is and what it means.